Chapter 651. Song Wuyo picked up the spoon and ate the egg custard. She looked up at Huang Ling. It's delicious. Don't you want a bowl? I've already eaten. Huang Ling looked at Song Wuyo quietly. Where's Muxin? Is she still so sad? She's with Migu. Muxin is the youngest among us. She cries more often, but she's very cute. Wuyo, are you okay? Huang Ling's eyes flashed with heartache. The more Song Wuyo pretended to be fine, the more she worried about her. Song Wuyo ate the egg custard and smiled at Huang Ling. I'm fine. Do I look like someone who's not fine? I'm already so sad. How can you not be sad? Huang Ling's face was bitter. Because you don't believe that Ah Ho is still alive. But Huang Ling didn't know what to say. People had to face reality when they were alive, and sometimes they had to be brave. Huang Ling, believe me. Ah Ho will come back. Also, I'm not sad. If she wasn't sad, would she have suddenly fainted from crying and been sent to the hospital? The more she said she wasn't sad, the more she couldn't accept reality, right? Huang Ling sighed secretly. Forget it. Wasn't it a good thing that she wasn't sad? She was pregnant now. She really couldn't be sad or sad. Huang Ling smiled. I believe you. Gu Yanhao will come back. That guy won't admit defeat. How could he let himself die so easily? Song Wuyo finished the bowl of egg custard very quickly. Huang Ling asked, do you want more? Song Wuyo shook her head. No. Wuyo, ever since the list of victims was announced, the people in M City have been in an uproar. The internet has exploded. I don't think you should go out during the day, or you will be surrounded by reporters. Huang Ling said. Song Wuyo leaned against the headboard and smiled gently. I can't hide either. If I hide, they will only write nonsense. I want to tell them that Ah Ho is not dead. Yes, I've asked for leave from the bar. During this time, I'll accompany you. Before Gu Yanhao returns, we will spend more time with you. Don't feel lonely. Silly girl. Song Wuyo smiled. I've never felt lonely. In her previous life, she had been locked up in the cold palace for 3 years with only one maid by her side. Most of the time, she didn't want a maid to accompany her. She liked to sit there alone. Sometimes, she would sit there for several hours. It could be said that she was used to the days without her lover by her side. However, in her previous life, she knew that his lover did not accompany her because he had another woman by his side. He would not be lonely, and he lived very well. Now, her lover was not by her side. He was doing something important somewhere else. It was just that she didn't know what he was doing, and she was very worried. Huang Ling chatted with Song Wuyo for about 20 minutes before leaving. When they arrived downstairs, Migu asked in a somewhat anxious tone, is Wuyo in a better mood? Did you finish the steamed egg custard? Huang Ling looked deeply at Migu and said, yes, I finished it. She has a smile on her face, but I can't tell if she's in a better mood. Migu's gaze deepened. She's like this. The more unhappy she is, the more she has to pretend to be happy. It was like this in the past, and it's still like this now. Maybe it's for the sake of the child, so she doesn't let herself be sad. Huang Ling took the bowl into the kitchen. Migu raised his head and looked upstairs. His gaze was deep, but his heart ached. There was a trace of sadness in his eyes. Noble consort Song, I will protect you. If you want to wait for him to come, I will wait for him to come. If you want to go with him, I will go with you. Chapter 652. The next day, early in the morning. Song Wuyo was dressed in Song Group business attire. Her hair was tied up in a bun behind her head. Her beautiful face and full forehead were openly displayed in front of everyone. The business attire added a touch of gentleness and maturity to her. Her beautiful face did not lose its innocence, and her skin was fair and delicate. Today, she, who never put on makeup, had put on light makeup. Her face did not look so pale, and the dark circles under her eyes were also covered. Magoo, who was waiting for her in the living room, could not help but be stunned when he saw her in this attire. Regardless of whether she was wearing business attire, casual wear, or a skirt, she looked so beautiful and attractive. "Are you going to the office dressed like this today?" Magoo looked at her and asked. Song Wuyo looked at Magoo and said, "I just received a call from Secretary Zhang. He said that the company's staff are in a mess because they saw the information of the victims on the internet." "Magoo, you know how to do business, right? Do you want me to replace Aho and take over the Gu clan?" The Gu clan is Aho's blood, sweat, and tears. I don't want the company to be in trouble because of his absence. I can help Aho manage it temporarily. I'll go to the Gu clan with you after breakfast. Okay. Magoo followed her to the dining room. After breakfast, they went to the Gu clan together. As soon as the car drove to the entrance of the Gu clan building, the reporters from various media outlets, radio stations, and newspapers who had been waiting for a long time rushed over and blocked Magoo's car completely. Song Wuyo was very quiet and calm in the face of the flashing spotlights. Magoo's face was very gloomy when he saw these reporters. Song Wuyo opened the car door. He asked anxiously, "Are you getting out of the car?" Song Wuyo smiled and said, "We have to face it sooner or later. Why should we avoid it?" Magoo looked at her deeply. Seeing that she had gotten out of the car, he hurriedly turned on the safety belt, got out of the car, and quickly went to Song Wuyo's side to protect her. Song Wuyo was stumped. The reporters kept asking her about Gu Yanhao. "Mrs. Gu, we've all seen the victim's information. Gu Yanhao and Gu Ming are on it. Can you explain?" "Mrs. Gu, Mr. Gu is no longer around. Will the Gu clan group be acquired?" "Mrs. Gu, what do you think about the plane crash?" Facing them, Song Wuyo first gave a natural and unrestrained smile and said, "You're all talking at once, asking so many questions at once. Which one should I answer?" Her response, as well as the faint smile on her face, stunned the reporters at the scene. They seemed to have interviewed the fake Mrs. Gu. Mrs. Gu is the name of the victim, Gu Yanhao, young Master Gu himself. A reporter asked. He was afraid that others would continue to ask Song Wuyo questions and cause Song Wuyo to be unable to answer his questions. He said again, "We'll ask one question at a time. Can you answer us one question at a time?" Song Wuyo looked at the reporter calmly and nodded. "Sure. Gu Yanhao's name is indeed on the list of victims, but I believe that Gu Yanhao did not die." Reporter A said, "I heard that the identity of the victims was confirmed based on the information on their identification documents. If Mr. Gu did not die, how could his identification documents have been dug up by the rescue team?" Song Wuyo said, "I only insist on my opinion. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse." Reporter A said, "But we haven't been able to contact Mr. Gu yet. Do you know where he is?" Chapter 653. Song Wuyo replied, "I don't know where he is, but I believe that he will not leave me." After speaking, Song Wuyo lowered her head and gently touched her lower abdomen. When everyone saw this, they all thought that she was comforting herself and was unable to accept the cruel truth. Reporter B asked, "Mrs. Gu, since young Master Gu is not around, will the Gu clan be sold?" Song Wuyo glanced at everyone and promised firmly, the Gu Clan CEO is not around, so the company will not be sold. The company's operations will not change. Reporter C asked, I heard that you fainted from crying because of young Master Gu's death. Is that true? When Song Wuyo heard this, she stared sharply at the female reporter and said coldly, My husband is not dead. Don't spread rumors. The female reporter felt her hair stand on end under Song Wuyo's sharp gaze. She pursed her lips and asked again, Then can you explain why young Master Gu's name is on the list of victims? Song Wuyo sneered, Isn't it simple? They have the same name and surname. Reporter D asked Migu, Mr. Migu, you are young Master Gu's friend. What do you think of this matter? Migu's expression was indifferent. May the deceased rest in peace. Reporter D asked, You and young Master Gu are good friends. Now that young Master Gu is not around, will you manage the company for him? Migu replied, Yes. Therefore, the Gu clan will not be affected by Aho's absence. Reporter D asked, Then what about Mrs. Gu? Will you take care of your good friend's wife? Or will you take advantage of your good friend's absence to steal his woman? As soon as she said this, Migu's expression suddenly became extremely malicious. He curved his lips and looked at the reporter with a half-smile. If it were you, would you do that? Reporter D smiled. No. She was a woman. Migu smiled coldly. If you wouldn't, why are you asking me such a question? Do you think I will? Reporter D, as far as I know, you've been in Wuyo Manor for the past 2 days. Were you with Mrs. Gu? The corners of Mugu's lips curled up, forming a faint smile. Reporter D couldn't help but feel a ripple in her heart when she saw his handsome smile. But when he saw the dazzling Song Wuyo standing beside him, Reporter D asked again, Mr. Migu, are you sure you won't steal your good brother's woman? After all, Song Wuyo's face was devastatingly beautiful, and she was very elegant. When Song Wuyo heard this, he narrowed his eyes and became even colder. She looked at the reporter indifferently and wondered if Qing Junhua had purposely arranged for him to stir up trouble. This question made the other reporters turn to look at her. The reporters' questions were always very sharp. Most of the reporters were shocked by what happened to Gu Yanhao. They wanted to see how Song Wuyo was feeling, so they asked these sharp questions. And they were all about the Gu clan group and the plane crash. They wouldn't ask about the private affairs of a man and a woman. After all, they all knew that at this time, who would think about the private affairs of a man and a woman? Everyone felt that this reporter's question was a little overboard. There were also some reporters who had always regarded Song Wuyo as a goddess, who glared at this reporter as if they were going to tear him apart. Migu hooked his finger at this reporter and smiled faintly. You want to know the answer? Come here, I'll tell you secretly. Reporter D was a young girl who looked like she had just graduated from college. Migu, Gu Yanhao, and Qing Junhua were known as the 3 most handsome men in M City. To be honest, Reporter D asked these questions out of jealousy. Chapter 654. She was interested in Migu. Although Gu Yanhao was the richest man in the country, he already had a wife, and now she was dead. Qing Junhua's status was too high, and she felt that she was out of her league. Although Migu didn't have a strong family background like the rest of them, he didn't have a strong family background. However, he was able to make it onto the rich list every year. He was handsome, and his peach blossom eyes were so charming. Among the 3 great handsome men, Reporter D liked men like Migu the most. According to the news that she had gathered, she saw that he had been staying at Wuyo Manor for the past 2 days. Now that she had seen him appear together with Song Wuyo, she could not help but feel jealous. Therefore, when she saw Migu smiling at her in such a gentle tone, she blushed and smiled shyly. She took the microphone and came forward. She smiled shyly and expectantly. Her eyes were watery as she looked at Migu. She was very young, her skin was very fair, and her face was very beautiful. Her bashful look gave people a lovely and touching feeling. Especially her pair of dark eyes, they were watery and very beautiful. But, slap. Migu was not moved by her appearance. He slapped her hard on the face. The sound was so loud that it seemed to have shocked the entire audience. Not to mention the reporters present, even Song Woo was stunned. She widened her eyes and looked at Migu in disbelief. He hit a woman. Reporter D, who was hit, could not withstand the force of the slap and fell to the side. The reporters at the side quickly retreated. She did not have any support and fell to the ground. With one hand on the ground to support her body, she covered her burning face with the other hand. She looked up with tears in her eyes and looked at Migu with grievance. Migu's entire body exuded a chilly aura. Like an Azura, he looked at the reporter maliciously. His voice was as cold as ice. This slap is to teach you how to respect others. Not to mention that Aho's body had yet to be transported back to M City and its whereabouts were unknown. Even if Aho had died in a plane crash, as his good brother and Mrs. Gu's good friend, it was normal for me to come to the manor to help Aho deal with the things that he had not finished before he left. A woman like you who doesn't have good morals should go to hell early. Living in this world is simply a waste of air. At this time, Migu's aura was very strong, suppressing them until they almost couldn't breathe. None of the reporters dared to make a sound after hearing his words. Migu's sharp eyes swept across everyone present with a frighteningly cold gaze. Wherever his gaze passed, the hearts of the reporters trembled violently. You can interview Mrs. Gu, but please ask her questions with respect. Young Master Gu's whereabouts are unknown. Not only is Mrs. Gu in a bad mood, but I'm also in a very bad mood. After saying this, Migu glanced at reporter D's work ID in surprise. Wu Guiren, right? I'll remember you. When reporter D heard this, her expression changed drastically. She looked at Migu in horror. Was he going to ban her and make it impossible for her to be a reporter for the rest of her life? Being a reporter was her lifelong wish. If she couldn't be a reporter, she would rather die. Song Woo glanced coldly at reporter D, then slowly swept her gaze across everyone. She said, I know that everyone is very concerned about young Master Gu's situation. Until now, I still can't believe and accept the fact that young Master Gu left me just like that. That's right, his name was indeed in the list of victims published online. The police also found his ID and sent it back to me. But, so what? Chapter 655. Song Woo smiled gently. She lowered her head and looked at her abdomen gently. Then, she smiled at everyone. We will wait for him to come back. I'm not afraid of waiting for a long time. The reporters were speechless. I understand that you rely on articles for a living, but please respect me and don't make things up out of nothing. Young Master Gu is the love of my life, Song Woo. Please don't look at me with dirty eyes. I'm not the kind of woman who changes her mind. Also, Migu will be staying at Woo Manor during this period of time because he will be temporarily replacing young Master Gu to manage the Gu clan group. Migu is not the only one who will be staying at Woo Manor. My bodyguard, Lu Jiming, the servants, and the workers will also be staying there. I'm not trying to explain anything by saying all this. I just hope that you won't look at the world with dirty eyes. A good reporter doesn't rely on creating articles out of nothing to attract attention. Don't let your own intelligence and self-righteousness harm yourself and ruin your own future. After speaking, Song Woo looked meaningfully at the reporter who had been hit by Migu. Migu had already hit her. Let's see who else would dare to use her. After hearing her words, Magoo looked at her deeply. His heart was filled with pain. However, in order to prevent the reporters from talking nonsense and taking pictures, he only looked at her deeply. His gaze did not linger on her face for long. "Mrs. Goo, are you unable to accept that young Master Goo has died in a plane crash, or do you not believe that young Master Goo has died in a plane crash?" a reporter asked. Her gaze was filled with sympathy. A young woman who had lost her husband deserved everyone's sympathy and concern. Song Woo was not a stupid person. She knew that Gu Yenhao was definitely not on the plane. If he did not contact her, he must be doing something very important. Perhaps Qing Junhua's men were keeping an eye on him. Song Woo smiled gently. There was bitterness in his smile, as well as a sorrow that was not immediately noticed by others. It gave people the feeling that her lover was clearly dead, but she was here to deceive herself and others by insisting that he was not dead. He didn't die. He loved me so much. How could he bear to leave me to live in another world? Everyone, please don't blindly think that he's dead, okay? Such an answer made one's heart ache. No matter how he asked her, she refused to say that her husband was dead. The reporters interviewed Song Woo for more than half an hour. Magoo escorted her into the Gu clan building because she didn't look well. Only then did the reporters disperse. As soon as Magoo and Song Woo entered the Gu clan building, the reporter who was hit couldn't help but scold, "What are you acting so arrogant for? I want to sue you. I want to sue him for intentional assault." The photographer who came with her looked at her with disdain. "You'd better go back and explain to the director. Do you think you can sue Mr. Magoo? Tonight, our boss is going to treat Mr. Magoo to a meal to admit his mistake. He hired a pig." The Gu clan was not as bad and chaotic as Song Woo had imagined. Before Gu Yenhao left, he had assigned many things to Secretary Zhang. The chaos that Secretary Zhang had mentioned was a problem that she had not encountered since she came to the Gu clan for so long. Important documents required the CEO's personal signature. No one could replace him. For the past few days, the stock market had fallen by a few points every day, but there was no bottom. Song Woo and Magoo's appearance in the Gu clan caused a sensation. The senior management swarmed to the CEO's office. In the end, they were chased to the meeting room by Magoo. Magoo took the documents that required the CEO's signature and went to the meeting room with Song Woo. Chapter 656. Will the Gu clan be finished? Will the employees be paid on time? A few VIPs kicked us when we are down and cancelled the contract. How can we salvage the situation when the share price is falling? A few elites from the design department have resigned. I heard that they have jumped ship to Onmei Group. Mrs. President, will the Gu clan be acquired? Will we still be treated the same after the acquisition? Some of the questions from the higher-ups were even more incisive than the questions asked by the reporters at the entrance of the building. They chattered and asked one after another. Song Woo could only feel her head buzzing. She felt a headache coming on. She frowned slightly and glanced at everyone. They were all elites trained by Gu Yenhao. Quiet down. Ask your questions one by one and solve them one by one, Song Woo said. What I am most concerned about now is whether the Gu clan will go bankrupt, Executive A said worriedly. Mr. Magoo will take over your CEO's work temporarily, Song Woo glanced at Magoo and said to everyone. Magoo was sitting at the head of the table. Usually, this seat was occupied by Gu Yenhao during meetings. Now, he was sitting there and exuded a strong aura. It was enough to intimidate everyone. When everyone heard what Song Woo said, they all looked at Magoo at the same time. Magoo was reading the documents that he had brought over. He did not miss a single word. Mr. Magoo, seems like you only run a ranch and raise sheep and horses. You don't know how to do business, Executive B said. When Magoo heard this, he raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Executive B. Just one look from him was enough to send chills down Executive B's spine. What a scary look. Whether or not I only know how to raise sheep and horses and not how to do business, won't you be able to prove it by handing over the Goo family to me? His sharp gaze slowly swept over everyone as he coldly said. The share price is falling non-stop. How can we salvage the situation? Executive B asked again. I have my ways. Believe me, it will pick up next week, Magoo said. Will you take this opportunity to swallow up the Goo clan? Executive C asked boldly. When Magoo heard this, he chuckled and looked at Executive C indifferently. You're not worried about whether or not I'll take over the Goo clan, are you? How can I not be worried? I'm loyal to President Goo. Then I'll take over the Goo clan now. Do you want to resign? Senior C was speechless when he heard this. Just now, you reported that a few of the elites have resigned. Then, let them resign. But from now on, they can forget about coming back to the Goo clan. Also, it was normal for the design department to jump ship to Amy Group. In M City, other than the Goo clan, Amy Group's women's apparel was the best. Since they aren't happy in the Goo clan, let them go. But the result will still be the same. The Goo clan won't welcome them in the future. The senior executives were speechless. Magoo continued, our current salary and bonuses will still be the same as before. The employees' salaries will be paid to them without a single cent less. As for the clients who have cancelled their contracts with us, I don't care. Without them, the Goo clan will not be finished. Those who have previously signed contracts with us will have to compensate the Goo clan according to the amount stated in the contract if they were the ones who cancelled their contracts first. They probably thought that since the president is not around, our legal team won't be able to get them to pay the liquidated damages. They even said that if we want to sue them, we can sue them and they will accompany us to the end, said one of the senior executives. Okay. When Magoo heard this, he looked at the senior executive and said indifferently, bring the contracts they signed before work to me in the office. Chapter 657. Mr. Magoo, are you going to file a lawsuit with them? It should be written clearly in the contract. If you breach the contract, you will have to bear the consequences. What if we lose the lawsuit? Magoo sneered. If we lose the lawsuit, then the judge must be in cahoots with them. When everyone heard this, they looked at each other and did not dare to say anything. All of you are brought up by President Goo. I believe that even if he is not around, all of you will be able to control the situation. All of you are worried about this and that only shows that all of you are not capable and have no confidence. I can assure all of you that the Goo clan will not be taken over and will not go bankrupt. Because Magoo's cold and sharp eyes looked around at everyone, revealing a firm determination. I won't allow it. These 4 words were very domineering. Song Woo-yo looked at him gratefully. Ah-ho was really lucky to have such a friend. When she thought of his previous life, Song Woo-yo smiled helplessly. He was not lucky in his previous life. He was just asking for trouble. After hearing Magoo's words, the higher-ups had to respect him. They had heard about the brotherly relationship between him and Goo Yenhao. Usually, they did not get together to drink and have fun. But when they faced difficulties, they would step forward. Now, Goo Yenhao was not around, and he stepped forward to take charge of the company and calm the people down. They believed that with Magoo around, no one would dare to do anything to the Goo clan. Although they knew that Ame Group was taking advantage of this time to suppress the Goo clan, causing the Goo clan's share price to fall. This was considered an impromptu meeting. After the meeting, the higher-ups went back to work. In the meeting room, only Song Woo-yo, Magoo, and Secretary Zhang were left. Song Wuyo looked at Migu gratefully and said sincerely, Migu, thank you. Migu smiled. You don't have to thank me for my brotherly relationship with Ah Ho. He handed the documents that he had just finished reviewing during the meeting to Secretary Zhang. I've drawn out the ones that have problems and solved them. Secretary Zhang took the document and looked at Migu with admiration. Okay. After Secretary Zhang left, Migu's eyes gradually became gentle. He looked at Song Wuyo and asked gently, How are you? Song Wuyo nodded. Very good. Today, don't take the reporter's words to heart, Migu said. Song Wuyo smiled. Why would I take it to heart? Now, I won't take anything they say to heart. Wuyo, I just want to stay by your side, protect you, and share your unhappiness and difficulties. That's enough. He didn't ask her to like him. If she didn't have Gu Yanhao, he might have other thoughts. However, she had Gu Yanhao now. He only wanted her to be happy. He had always wanted to protect her. Whether he could get her or not was secondary. Moreover, he also planned that in this life, it didn't matter if they weren't fated to be together. He would continue to jump into the river of forgetfulness. Song Wuyo looked at him with a smile. I understand. So, I hope that our relationship won't be awkward. It won't be. Ah Ho and I are very lucky to have a friend like you. But... Song Wuyo looked at Migu deeply. In your previous life, you died because of me. Don't tell me that in this life, you still want to be lonely because of me. Migu's peach blossom eyes were smiling. I'm not lonely. I have Mushin, you and Ah Ho, such good friends. And a group of sheep and horses. Have you ever thought of finding a suitable girl to live with? Song Wuyo looked at him and asked. Chapter 658. Migu smiled and looked at Song Wuyo. Wuyo, now is not the time to talk about this. When Song Wuyo heard this, she felt a little awkward. When she saw how protective he was of the Gu clan and how attentive he was in helping her solve her problems, she really hoped that he would be able to meet a good girl and live happily. Don't feel burdened. I am also a normal man. I have all the conditions. Why would I want to be a monk? It's just that I haven't met a girl who can move my heart. If I do, I won't let her go, Migu said. It's good that you can think this way. Song Wuyo smiled. Migu stood up and said, All right, I have to go back to the office now and start working. Song Wuyo also stood up and followed behind him. You're really good at being the interim CEO. It's as if you're doing the CEO's work every day. That's because I'm naturally intelligent. I know everything just by looking at it. You're as narcissistic and arrogant as Ah Ho. Otherwise, how can we be good friends? The reporter interviewed Song Wuyo and asked Song Wuyo some sharp questions. These questions were quickly broadcasted by all the radio stations. The video of Migu hitting the reporter spread like wildfire on the internet. Migu's image in the public's eyes suddenly became high and mighty. The netizens all shouted that the reporter should get out of the reporter's circle. Some of the netizens who were escorting Song Wuyo said that they would slap the reporter every time they saw her. This was too much. Gu Yanhao's death had only been a few days ago. Everyone was still grieving. How could she ask such a question? She was asking for it. Song Wuyo stayed at the Gu clan and helped to draw a design draft. The designer didn't even want her salary and jumped over to Onmei Group. She wanted to use her designs for the new women's clothing line. After the design was done, it was time for the Gu clan to get off work. She walked out of the Gu clan building with Su Jing and Mu Axean. There were many people gathered in front of the Gu clan building. These people were not reporters, but commoners. When they saw Song Wuyo, they did not rush towards her like the reporters did. Instead, they stepped aside and stood side by side, shouting in unison, "Mrs. Gu. We support you. Mrs. Gu. Don't be afraid, you still have me. Mrs. Gu, you must live on. Mrs. Gu, we will accompany you." Although Song Wuyo had seen a lot in her previous life, she had also encountered a few earth-shattering things in this world. However, when she saw them waiting for her and encouraging her, her eyes couldn't help but turn red. Soon, tears began to roll down her cheeks. She stood on the steps, looking at them gratefully. When they saw the tears in her eyes, they felt even more sorry for her. A middle-aged woman came forward and held Song Wuyo's hand. She said, "Mrs. Gu, don't be sad. This hurdle will definitely pass. Thank you." Song Wuyo looked at the woman with tears in her eyes and a smile. "When she was 7 months pregnant with my daughter, the man who worked in the coal mine died in an accident. My daughter was born prematurely. It has been a tough journey. Fortunately, my daughter has grown up and is very filial. Mrs. Gu, I don't mean anything by saying this. I just hope that you can live a good life." Ching Junhua sat in front of the TV and watched this scene coldly. He had thought that Song Wuyo would be so sad that she would have a miscarriage after hearing about Gu Yanhao's death. Looking at her now, she was not as weak as he had imagined. This woman was so popular. Even after her husband died, so many people comforted and encouraged her. Chapter 659. Bang! The office door was suddenly pushed open. The door should have been kicked open as there was a sound. Hearing this sound, Ching Junhua's face suddenly became very gloomy. He looked up and saw that it was his uncle Ching Jinshin. His gloomy expression instantly disappeared, and he looked at Ching Jinshin in confusion. "Uncle, what happened?" Ching Jinshin glanced at the TV screen. It was a special shot of Song Wuyo. "I've only been abroad for a few days, and Gu Yanhao is already dead." Ching Jinshin looked at Ching Junhua sharply. "Did you do something to the plane?" Ching Junhua was unhappy with Ching Jinshin's questioning. But he did not show it. After all, he was his nephew, and he would inherit his position as the president in the future. "Uncle, why are you suspecting me? Don't you think this is fate?" Ching Junhua looked at Ching Jinshin with a smile. "Let me ask you, did you do something to the plane?" Ching Jinshin's sharp eyes were quite scary. Ching Junhua said calmly, "No." "Bastard!" Ching Jinshin kicked the chair that Ching Junhua was sitting on. The chair shook, and Ching Junhua almost bounced off. Ching Jinshin's kick was very strong. "Damn it!" Ching Junhua cursed in his heart. "Do you know the consequences of killing Gu Yanhao?" Ching Jinshin shouted angrily. Ching Junhua raised his eyebrows and looked at Ching Jinshin. "Uncle, didn't you always want him dead?" Ching Jinshin said angrily, "I do want him dead, but not now. Don't you know that he has the video and photos of me killing Ban Dekang?" Ching Junhua's eyes were cold. "That's why I killed him and ended everything. You think Gu Yanhao is a retard?" Ching Jinshin was furious. "Go online and check." When Ching Junhua heard this, he raised his eyebrows. Could it be that Gu Yanhao is not dead? He quickly used his phone to check the news. Sure enough, the news of suspected of killing President Ban Dechang's family was the current president was all over the news. There was no clear video, but there was a recording. It was a very clear recording. "You're terminally ill. Give up your position to me. It won't affect your family's life." "Why should I give up my position? The president is elected in the election. How can I give up my position just like that? I have leukemia. If I can find a suitable bone marrow transplant, I can still live." Election. I'm the vice president. Since Gu Jinyuan, the male lead's father, has the most votes, he will naturally be the president, and you will continue to be the vice president. If Gu Jinyuan's votes are lower than yours, you will be the president, and he will be the vice president. Gu Jinyuan. Why Gu Jinyuan? I've convinced Gu Ming. If you're dead, why don't you just make me the president? Why do you have to hold an election? Are you really not going to hand over the power directly to me? I said that I've made up my mind. What do you mean? The meaning is very simple, that is, Qing Jianxin, you want to kill me. That's right. I want to kill you and usurp your power. Help. After listening to the recording, Qing Junhua's expression changed drastically. He looked at Qing Jianxin in shock. Why is there a recording?
Chapter 660. Qing Jianxin's face was gloomy as he stared at Qing Junhua. How would I know? Qing Junhua frowned. His expression was rather unsightly. This voice even called out names. Now, look at the Dragon Palace Square. Qing Jianxin was so angry that his neck became thick. Qing Junhua was shocked when he heard that. This recording has caused public outrage. What do you think? Why didn't you tell me that you were going to do it on the plane? Qing Junhua pursed his lips. Would he agree if he told him? He looked at Qing Jianxin. I will find the person who uploaded the recording and prove your innocence. That better be the case. Now, the other party is in the dark while we are in the light. He came prepared. It will not be easy to find him. Qing Junhua's eyes were gloomy. Even if we have to turn the whole K country upside down, we must find him. Now, the most important thing is how to explain this to the people. Qing Junhua sneered. Uncle, why should we explain to them? This recording is fake. Qing Jianxin roared. Even if it was real, he would not admit it in front of the people. Whether it is real or fake, this is a matter between the powers of the country. No matter who becomes the king, it will not affect their lives. Even so, the power of the people is still very scary. Then I will say that someone used this recording to frame you. Won't that work? You think they are fools? Qing Jianxin's eyes were bloodshot. Qing Junhua's face was gloomy. What do you want then? It's not right to not explain to them. It's also not right to explain to them. There are ways to explain. At this time, Qing Wanduo's enchanting body swaggered in. Qing Wanduo was tall, slender, and voluptuous. She always liked to wear tight-fitting clothes, especially black ones. The black tight-fitting clothes showed off her graceful figure. Her waist-length wavy hair made her even more sexy and enchanting. When Qing Junhua saw her, a strange look flashed past his eyes. Among so many women, Qing Junhua admired Qing Wanduo. She was not coquettish, bold, ruthless, and independent. Hearing her words, Qing Jianxin asked faintly, "You have a way?" "Godfather, who will believe you if you explain it like that?" Qing Wanduo smiled and said, "But if we find the person who uploaded the video and recording, and make him admit that he framed you, they might more or less believe it." Qing Jianxin, if I could find the person who uploaded the recording, I would have killed him long ago. He just couldn't find it. Qing Wanduo smiled seductively and flipped his hair. Don't tell me you don't even know how to act. Hearing this, Qing Junhua raised his eyebrows and understood everything. Qing Jianxin looked at Qing Wanduo. You mean, find someone to admit it? Qing Wanduo smiled and looked at Qing Jianxin. That's the only way, isn't it? Godfather. Besides, you're not the one looking for it. I'll do it.
Qing Jianxin looked deeply at Qing Wanduo. Can you do it well? Qing Wanduo smiled. It's better than doing nothing, right? Godfather, I don't know how many reporters are outside the Dragon Palace. Qing Jianxin's sharp eyes flashed with admiration for Qing Wanduo. He said, I'll leave this to you. When you find someone who is willing to admit it, I'll come forward. Godfather, don't worry. You'll have to suffer these few days. Qing Wanduo said with a filial face. Wanduo's idea is still useful at critical moments. Qing Jianxin couldn't help but praise Qing Wanduo in front of Qing Junhua. Chapter 661. Qing Jianxin was decisive and ruthless. He rarely approved of a woman's work. As for Qing Wanduo, he really liked and appreciated her. Qing Junhua's eyes dimmed and he looked gloomy. He felt that Qing Jianxin's attitude towards him was different from before. He wondered if it was because he knew about Guijie and Ban Dekang. Qing Junhua pursed his lips. That damned Guijie was really a jinx. Qing Wanduo smiled and glanced at Qing Junhua. Then she said to Qing Jianxin, I don't know if this matter can be done well. Godfather, this is a serious matter. I'll go and deal with it. Qing Jianxin nodded. Okay. Junhua, bye-bye. Qing Wanduo blew Qing Junhua a kiss, looking incomparably enchanting. After Qing Wanduo left, Qing Jianxin sighed. Wanduo is a smart and resolute child. It's a pity she's not a boy. When Qing Junhua heard this, his eyes suddenly darkened and he looked at Qing Jianxin unhappily. Uncle, if she's a boy, are you going to let her have the power? Qing Jianxin thought for a while and looked at Qing Junhua seriously. Even if she's a boy and calls me godfather, she's still an outsider. He was not foolish enough to give power to an outsider. Seeing Qing Junhua's gloomy face, Qing Jianxin said sternly, choose a time to get engaged with Wanduo. Your fiancé is dead. You don't have to be single for the rest of your life. About the engagement, let's wait for this storm to blow over. Song Wuyo didn't believe that Gu Yanhao was on that plane before. Now, she was sure that Gu Yanhao wasn't on that plane. That was because she had also heard the video on the internet that was filled with only audio recordings. When she saw the comments, it was like crazy. She felt that Qing Jianxin's presidential career was coming to an end soon. Song Wuyo held her phone and sat on the sofa, deep in thought. It seemed that Gu Yanhao was really going to fight for the position of president. Well, as long as he liked it, she would support him no matter what he did. It's good that he's the president. At least he's more suitable than Qing Junhua. Furthermore, once he became the president, no one would try to kill Ban Jianing again. She believed that with Gu Yanhao as president, K country would become better. These recordings and videos would let the world know how tragic the death of Ban Dechang's family was. Ah ho, don't worry about me and do what you want to do. A touch of determination flashed through Song Wuyo's eyes. Before he came back, she had to take good care of herself and the child in her belly. Madam. Sister Song came out of the kitchen. The soup is ready. Do you want some? Song Wuyo turned her head and smiled gently at Sister Song. Yes, I want to drink it now. Sister Song was stunned by her beautiful smile, but she quickly reacted and said with a smile, I've brought it out. Come in and drink. Song Wuyo stood up and said with a smile, I still want to eat kiwis. Madam, if there's anything else you want to eat, just let me know. Sister Song made Song Wuyo black chicken soup. It was just chicken. Some wine and ginger slices were added to remove the fishy smell. The soup was sweet and delicious. Song Wuyo had just taken 2 sips when Migu and Mushin came in. What do you want to drink? You're enjoying it so much. Migu pulled a chair next to her and sat down. Black chicken soup, Song Wuyo said with a smile. Mushin sat down opposite Song Wuyo. Seeing that she looked good, she smiled and said, Sister Wuyo, do you have something happy to share with us? Chapter 662. Song Wuyo glanced at Mu Axian with a smile, then asked Migu, have you heard the recording on the internet? Migu nodded. Yes. The servant brought up their meal. Qing Jianxin must be furious now. He thought that what he did was flawless, but he didn't expect that after more than 10 years, the evidence would emerge bit by bit. But Qing Wanduo found the person who uploaded the video. Mu Axian pursed her lips and said unhappily. Song Wuyo was stunned and looked at Mu Axian in surprise. What? Qing Wanduo found the other party's IP and found the other party. That person said in front of the media that he was a computer expert, and that those videos and recordings were fabricated by him because he was very unhappy with Qing Jianxin and Qing Junhua. Qing Jianxin said that this person's fabricated video seriously damaged his reputation, and he would be severely punished. He was going to put him in prison for decades, Mu Axian said. Song Wuyo frowned. Unhappy with Qing Jianxin and Qing Junhua. She wouldn't believe such nonsense. Seeing that she was silent, Migu said, Qing Jianxin did this just to clear his name and let the people forgive him. Only he knew whether it was that person who uploaded it or not. Song Wuyo looked at him. You can't find out either. Him. Mu Axian looked at Migu with disdain. He only knows how to ride a horse. Talk too much. Migu glared at her. Eat your food, or I'll call Jianing over to eat with you. No. Mu Axian immediately shouted. I won't interrupt. I'll eat. Song Wuyo saw that she was so resistant to ban Jianing and smiled helplessly. If Jianing sees you like this, he will be very sad. Mu Axian made a face and then lowered her head to eat without saying anything. She would be sad if Ban Jianing pestered her. The dining room was silent. After Song Wuyo drank a few mouthfuls of soup, she looked up at Migu and asked, do you know the person Qing Jianxin photographed? Migu shook his head. I don't know him. Have you investigated him? Migu's eyes flashed as he said, no. Oh. Song Wuyo didn't ask any more questions and drank the soup silently. However, her mind was constantly thinking and analyzing things. Qing Jianxin could just find someone to shift the blame on him, right? Would the person who uploaded the video be so stupid to be found out so easily? The day after Qing Jianxin locked up the person who uploaded the video, another video exploded on the internet. This is the video of Qing Junhua kidnapping his younger brother Qing Junhua, Qing Junshan threatening Madame Air to invite Song Wuyo on the yacht. In the video, Qing Junhua sat on a wooden chair with his long legs crossed. In front of him, Qing Junshan was tied to a wooden chair. Next to him, a man in black held a military knife to Qing Junshan's neck. Not far in front of them, there was a tripod. The mobile phone on the tripod was playing a video. In the video, it was Madame Air on the yacht. They were very clear about it. The video that was uploaded to the internet was also very clear. This video was even more sensational than the video of Qing Jianxin killing Ban Dekhang with a knife. It turned out that the yacht explosion and Song Wuyo's disappearance were caused by Qing Junhua. Netizens associated the yacht explosion with the plane crash. Some bold netizens commented that the plane crash and Gu Yanhao's death were caused by Qing Junhua. The video had only been uploaded for an hour, and there were people blocking the entire Dragon Palace like last time. Some people even splashed shit on the walls of the Dragon Palace and threw things at the gate of the Dragon Palace, including rotten eggs. Chapter 663. There were even people who went to the Qing residence and asked Qing Jianping to hand over Qing Junhua. Cyberbullying was a serious matter, and the news spread quickly. It was as fast as the speed of light. Qing Junhua had something to do with the plane crash. Even if the president of country K wanted to protect Qing Junhua, other countries would not let him off. Dragon Palace. Qing Jianxin's office. Qing Junhua sat on the chair with a gloomy face. Even with the windows closed, they could still hear the commotion outside. Qing Jianxin paced back and forth with his hands behind his back. Suddenly, he stopped and glared at Qing Junhua. You even dared to do something as serious as making the yacht explode. Qing Junhua's face was gloomy. Gu Yanhao is not dead. He suspected that the video was uploaded by Gu Yanhao. How did Gu Yanhao get hold of the video? You're so heartless. Qing Jianxin came to Qing Junhua and pointed at his nose. If you wanted to kill Song Wuyo, you could have just sent someone to do it secretly. Why did you have to involve your own people? No matter how much you dislike Guijier, she's still your stepmother. How dare you use your own brother's life to threaten your own mother? Qing Junhua looked at Qing Jianxin with some annoyance. This is the only way to stop people from suspecting that Song Wuyo's death is related to me. What about now? Qing Jianxin shouted at him. Now that the video is out, how are you going to explain this? A murderous look flashed across Qing Junhua's eyes. Shoot everyone outside. When Qing Jianxin heard that, he wanted to punch Qing Junhua. His eyes were red with anger as he pointed at Qing Junhua. Shoot everyone. How dare you say something like that? You can shoot everyone in the country, but can you shoot everyone in the world? Men! Qing Jianxin suddenly shouted. 4 tall Special Forces soldiers came in. Qing Junhua raised an eyebrow and looked at Qing Jianxin unhappily. Uncle, what do you mean? I'll bring you to investigate. Do we still need to investigate? Qing Junhua sneered. Don't you know the result? So what? I want you to give the people an explanation. Give the other countries an explanation. Why should we give an explanation to other countries? The victims of the plane crash, you know better than me where they came from. I don't admit that I caused the crash. That's why I brought you back to investigate. Qing Junhua, don't make things difficult for me. Qing Jianxin made up his mind. Take him away. Qing Junhua did not resist. He was handcuffed and taken out. Qing Junhua was taken away by a Hummer. When the car drove out of the Dragon Palace, the crowd surrounded it. Qing Junhua, you're a beast in human clothing. You couldn't kill Mrs. Gu, so you killed young Master Gu. You scoundrel, why haven't you gone to hell yet? Qing Junhua, go to hell. I want to avenge young Master Gu. A stone was thrown at the car window. Unfortunately, the windows of the Hummer were bulletproof, and the stone did not shatter the windows. Because there were too many people blocking the road, it was difficult for the Hummer to move. The people were banging on the car windows like crazy. Hand over Qing Junhua. This murderer must be executed by shooting. Shoot him. Shoot him. Uncle is like this, nephew is also like this. We'll protest to the end. Qing Jianxin is not fit to be the president, Qing Jianping is not fit to be the head of the army. Protest to the end. Protest to the end. Protest to the end. It was a mess. The entire K country was in chaos. Qing Jianxin, who was standing in front of the window and looking at the situation outside, started to worry. Chapter 664. He did not know how many more videos the other party had not uploaded. He did not know if the other party was Gu Yanhao. If Gu Yanhao was not dead and was controlling all of this behind the scenes, the consequences would be unimaginable. If he died, the power behind him wouldn't let him off. Qing Jianxin recalled what Gu Yanhao had said to him. If he angered him, he would let the entire country trample him to death. Cheng Jianxin did not dare to go out. At this time, the entire world was paying attention to this matter. If he took out his spear and killed them all, he would also die. But in this situation, if he went out, it would really be like what Gu Yanhao had said. He would be trampled to death. Below, the Hummer was surrounded by them. Godfather, things have turned out like this. How do we end this? Cheng Wanduo hurried in, looking flustered. I don't even dare to look at the internet now. The cyberviolence is too serious, Cheng Jianxin said. The matter has already blown up. Godfather, the video from before that was not clear has been uploaded again. This time, the video is very clear. What? Cheng Jianxin's expression changed when he heard that. There's a new video uploaded. Cheng Wanduo's expression was a little serious. Yes, because the video is very clear. Now everyone knows that you were the one who killed Ban Dekang. You were the one who set up the explosion at the Ban residence. When Cheng Jianxin heard that, his entire body shook. Cheng Wanduo continued, I heard that the military, various high-ranking officials, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other high-ranking officials want to sue you. Cheng Jianxin's face instantly turned pale. He was not afraid of others, but the military, even the military was suing. If it was in ancient times, it would be a rebellion by the people who held all the military power. Moreover, all the high-ranking officials and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were here. The so-called prosecution was a unanimous agreement to remove him from the position of president. Then, they would unanimously elect a new president. Cheng Jianxin began to panic. Could it be that he could not continue to be the president? Not only could he not continue to be the president, but the evidence of the terrorists' murder of Ban Dekang was complete. He would go to jail. What do you think we should do now, Wanduo? Cheng Jianxin was a wise man, but he didn't know what to do. Cheng Wanduo also didn't know what to do. Now, even the foreigners are saying that you indulge Junhua and let him kill whoever he wants. Among the victims of the plane crash, some of them were important figures in foreign countries. Godfather, the plane crash has become a big deal. It's all Cheng Junhua's fault. Cheng Jianxin punched the table. The table suddenly received a huge shock, and the legs of the table were about to break. Our top priority right now is to hand Junhua over. He threatened his stepmother with his younger brother, plotted the explosion of the yacht, and failed to kill Song Wuyo. Now, he wants to kill Gu Yanhao. They have been doing business obediently and have never been involved in political affairs. However, Junhua still wants to kill the couple. This has already aroused public anger. Cheng Jianxin shuddered when he heard this. Moreover, some netizens have revealed that Song Wuyo is pregnant. Gu Yanhao still wanted to be a good father, but he was killed by Junhua. Now, Song Wuyo is a woman who has to suffer and bear the pain of losing her husband. Her poor child is fatherless before he is born. All these have made everyone's heart lean towards Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo has also publicly admitted that she is pregnant. Before Gu Yanhao left, he asked her to stay at home and take care of the baby. When he came back, he asked the Gu clan to make clothes for the baby. Unexpectedly, the child's father has not come back yet because of the plane crash. Chapter 665. Cheng Junhua is really muddle-headed. Cheng Jianxin was furious. If he didn't provoke Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo, I wouldn't be in this situation today. Cheng Wanduo looked at Cheng Jianxin. Godfather, don't you know why Junhua wanted to kill Song Wuyo? Cheng Jianxin was stunned. He looked at Cheng Wanduo and said coldly, isn't it because Song Wuyo has the support of the people and he's afraid that the people will be biased towards Gu Yanhao and threaten his presidency? Cheng Wanduo pursed her lips when she heard that. She looked like she didn't dare to say anything. Her expression was very good and it only lasted for a moment. After that, she looked out of the window as if she wanted to change the topic. How can I make them disperse? However, Cheng Jianxin caught her expression and looked at her sharply. Wanduo, do you know something that you don't want to tell me? Cheng Wanduo looked like she was afraid after meeting Cheng Jianxin's sharp gaze. She pursed her lips and stopped talking. The more she acted like this, the more Cheng Jianxin refused to let go. His gaze became even sharper as he stared at Cheng Wanduo. Wanduo, you're hiding something from me. Cheng Wanduo's expression was even more obvious. Speak. Cheng Jianxin roared. Even his neck became a lot thicker because of this roar. Cheng Wanduo's back trembled. She was in a difficult position. Godfather, I only heard about it. What did you hear? I heard that Junhua killed Song Wuyo because what? Cheng Jianxin's patience was exhausted. He shouted these words almost hysterically. Song Wuyo is the daughter of Auntie and Ban Dekhang. When Ban Dekhang heard that, his face changed and his eyes widened. What did you say? Cheng Wanduo, I just heard that Song Wuyo is the daughter of Junhua's stepmother, Chang Xing. Bastard! Cheng Jianxin was furious when he heard this and slammed his palm on the office table. He glared at Cheng Wanduo, his eyes bloodshot with rage. Is what you said true? Cheng Wanduo nodded in agreement. I've only heard about it. Who told you that? The last time I went to the Qing mansion, I accidentally heard Junhua and Uncle talking about it. After they saw me, they stopped talking about it. I'm not too sure. However, after the yacht explosion was exposed, I became even more suspicious. If Auntie has nothing to do with Song Wuyo, Uncle loves her so much. How could he sacrifice her to take Song Wuyo's life? When Cheng Jianxin heard this, he felt that it made sense. Cheng Wanduo saw his gloomy face and said, Godfather, this is just my guess. Don't get angry. If Song Wuyo is really Guijie's daughter, why would she lead Song Wuyo to the yacht? Cheng Jianxin was not stupid enough to analyze the problem. Cheng Wanduo thought for a while and said, maybe Junhua threatened Junhua and Junshan. If it were me, I would also choose to sacrifice my daughter who did not grow up by my side to save the lives of my two beloved sons. Jian Pain married Ban Dechang's woman. Cheng Jianxin shouted angrily. A murderous look flashed across his eyes. He said maliciously, if Song Wuyo is Ban Dechang's daughter, there is only one end for her, and that is death. In his opinion, it did not matter whether Ban Jianing killed him or not. However, Song Wuyo was different. That woman was very smart. She won the hearts of the people in a few moves and paved the way for her husband. Chapter 666. Cheng Jianxin felt that Song Wuyo's existence was a threat to him. He was a man, the king of a country, but he was threatened by a woman. How could he survive in K country in the future? Just a minute ago, he didn't know that she was Ban Dechang's daughter and wanted to spare her life. Now, knowing that she was Ban Dechang's daughter, Cheng Jianxin suddenly wanted her dead. Suddenly thinking of something, Cheng Jianxin narrowed his eyes and looked at Cheng Wanduo in shock. Those videos and recordings, could it be that Song Wuyo uploaded them? Cheng Wanduo analyzed, she is Ban Dechang's daughter, so it's not strange that she witnessed the whole process of the murder at the Ban residence. Hearing Cheng Wanduo's words, Cheng Jianxin was even more suspicious that the person who uploaded the videos was Song Wuyo. I want her dead. Cheng Jianxin was enraged, his eyes were cold and gloomy as he looked at Cheng Wanduo. Wanduo, you kill without batting an eyelid, and you have a lot of methods, I want you to take Song Wuyo's life now. Hearing that she could kill people, Cheng Wanduo was like a little girl who saw her favorite toy, ecstatic. She promised Qing Jianqin, "Godfather, don't worry. I won't let you down. In the end, you are still loyal to me." Junhua, that brat, hid Song Wuyo's true identity for his own future. And my big brother. Great, they all hid it from me, great. Godfather, now the whole country's eyes are on us. Of course, we can't act rashly when it comes to Song Wuyo. I have a mission that I want to carry out by myself. I don't want Junhua or Xinxin to know, so as not to alert the enemy. If they know that Song Wuyo's death is related to us, they will definitely bomb the Dragon Palace. Then, the loss will outweigh the gain, Qing Wanduo said. Qing Jianqin wanted Song Wuyo to die. As for how she died, he didn't care so much. He waved his hand at Qing Wanduo. You decide. My biggest headache right now is the people outside. Last time, they besieged the Dragon Palace because of Song Wuyo. Now, they besieged the Dragon Palace because of Song Wuyo. What did they take him for? What did he take Song Wuyo for? Godfather, how about we sneak out of the Dragon Palace? Where will you go after you leave? Now, several countries are asking me for an explanation. I thought the plane crash had nothing to do with you. Junhua is my nephew. It was Junhua who did this without your knowledge. He should be the one to bear the responsibility. Godfather, you can't risk your future or your life for Junhua, right? You still have sister Xiaotang and godmother. Qing Wanduo said. When Qing Jianqin heard this, he looked at Qing Wanduo. Then, what do you think I should do now? Junhua tampered with the plane and plotted against Song Wuyo, causing the yacht to explode. He did this behind your back. Of course, he should bear the responsibility. We don't care if the yacht exploded. After all, the one who died was the madam of the Qing family. But the plane crash is different. There were people from various countries on the plane. Moreover, it was an Australian flight. They will definitely not let Junhua go. Godfather, at this time, why don't we hand Junhua over to the international authorities? We don't care how the international authorities judge him. Qing Jianqin was a little hesitant. I have always treated him as my son. Although he was an uncle, he had always treated Qing Junhua like a son. Chapter 667. Are you going to side with Junhua in front of the international community? Of course not. Then why are you hesitating? Sigh. Qing Jianqin shook his head and sighed. Qing Wanduo raised his eyebrows slightly. How could a president be so assertive at this time? After a long while, Qing Jianqin said, that's the only way. We'll hand Junhua over to the international community for now. I'll use my connections to protect him secretly. When this matter blows over, we'll let him come back. Qing Wanduo looked at him. Handing him over to the international community is equivalent to letting him go abroad to avoid the storm. Outside the Dragon Palace, it was still blocked by people. The Hummer that was holding Qing Junhua had not moved more than 5 meters after half an hour. Qing Junhua, who was sitting in the car, looked at the people outside pointing at him and scolding him. His face was extremely gloomy. He looked at the front of the car gloomily. He could not see the road in front of him through the windshield. He could only see a dark mass of people. They were very crazy. They threw eggs, meat, and vegetables at the car. Some even spat on the car. Their behavior was very bad. Some men even used their elbows to hit the car window. Unfortunately, the car window was bulletproof. No matter how hard their elbows were, they could not break it. Drive. Qing Junhua was proud all his life. He was also a person who came back from the Navy. He had always been praised. When had he ever been stepped on like this? He was about to break down emotionally. He shouted at the driver. The driver also wanted to drive, but there were so many people in front of him. How could he drive? If he drove past them, wouldn't he run them over? The driver was a person with a conscience. At this time, he did not dare to drive forward. I told you to drive. Did you hear me? Ching Junhua shouted again. That voice suddenly sounded in the car. It was deafening. Young Master Ching, the road is blocked. How can we drive? The driver was also very annoyed. After being shouted at by Ching Junhua, he became even more annoyed. These worthless people, they deserve to die. Ching Junhua struggled with his hands. Damn it, if it weren't for the handcuffs, I would have opened it. The two Special Forces soldiers sitting next to him looked at him coldly. One of them said in a bad tone, "Shut up. How many people do you want to kill before you're satisfied?" I killed my own people. Why do you care? Ching Junhua looked at the man coldly and snorted, I'll remember you. The first thing I'll do when I become president is to kill you. When the man heard this, he said disdainfully, you can say that after you become the president. You shut up now, or I'll throw you out. Young Master Ching, can you imagine the consequences of being thrown out? When Ching Junhua heard this, his gaze became even more malicious. It was as if there was ice in his eyes. It was frighteningly cold. He knew how badly the Dragon Palace had been blocked. Densely packed, impenetrable, and difficult to move. These words were not enough to describe the situation. If he went out, he would definitely be beaten to death. What a bold and unruly citizen. Are we going to waste our time here? Ching Junhua said coldly. I'll ask the president if he wants to send a helicopter over, the pilot said. After that, the driver took out his phone and dialed Ching Jianxin's number. Your Excellency, the car is blocked. Now we are in a dilemma. Should we send a helicopter to send young Master Ching away? The moment the call was connected, the pilot went straight to the point. Okay, I got it. After the pilot hung up the phone, he turned around and glanced at Ching Junhua sympathetically. Then, he said to the brother next to him, open the door. Chapter 668. The helicopter is here. Ching Junhua asked. They did not answer Ching Junhua. A Special Forces soldier opened the car door. As soon as the car door opened, the crowd outside surrounded them and broke the car door. Come out. Ching Junhua, come out. They fought to get in and pull Ching Junhua out. Ching Junhua was a little scared when he saw them acting like crazy. As if he saw a group of ghosts, Ching Junhua shrank to the side where the car door was not open. Close the door. Close the door. Ching Junhua shouted. Damn it, the helicopter was not here yet. Why did they open the car door? I want to avenge the victims of the plane crash. I want to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and eradicate the devil. Ching Junhua, you devil, go to hell. Ching Junhua, you're polluting the air by living in this world. However, Ching Junhua was sitting in the middle and there was a Special Forces soldier beside him. They reached their hands in and scratched the Special Forces soldier's face. The Special Forces soldier said anxiously, we're in charge of locking young Master Ching up. If you want him to come out, you have to let me out too. With that, the man jumped out of the car with difficulty. As soon as he got out of the car, two men crawled in and dragged Ching Junhua out. What are you doing? Damn it, how dare you treat me like this? Ching Junhua struggled and kicked them. However, the men who crawled in were not to be trifled with. When Ching Junhua's leg kicked over, the man grabbed his leg tightly and dragged him out. Ching Junhua was handcuffed and could not grab anything. He was dragged out and smashed to the ground. You devil, you deserve to die. You even killed your own stepmother and your own brother. You're worse than a beast. Young Master Gu is such a good person and you want to kill him. You deserve to die, you devil. I want to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and trample you to death, you devil. People like you should go to hell. Stay in hell and don't come out to harm people. The moment Qing Junhua came out and fell to the ground, he was stepped on and kicked non-stop. Save me. Save me. Qing Junhua was in pain from the kicks. He knew that he was no match for the crowd and started to beg for mercy from the 4 Special Forces soldiers who were holding him down. The 4 of them acted as if they did not hear him. Standing in front of the car, he looked at Qing Junhua indifferently. Qing Junhua stared at them with bloodthirsty eyes. Because there were too many people and too little space, he didn't even have the space to move his body, let alone struggle. If you don't save me, my uncle will never forgive you. Qing Junhua shouted. It was His Excellency who asked us to open the car door, a Special Forces soldier said. You're lying. Qing Junhua shouted. Because Qing Junhua came out of the car, the crowd became even more excited. They rushed up, and the scene was extremely terrifying. Standing on top of the Dragon Palace and looking at the scene below, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. So many people. Qing Jianxin didn't dare to look down. He kept the windows closed, hiding in the office like a coward. Sir, bad news. Qing Jianxin's personal assistant hurried in with a terrible look on his face. There's news from outside. The people destroyed the car and injured our people. Then, Qing Jianxin's eyes widened and he shouted, and then what? Department head Qing was trampled to death. What? Qing Jianxin was shocked when he heard this. He looked at the special assistant in disbelief. Chapter 669. Trampled to death. Qing Jianxin's heart skipped a beat. The assistant nodded. Qing Jianxin hurried to the window and opened it. He did not know if the people below were satisfied with trampling Qing Junhua to death, or if they had had enough. They were gradually retreating. The dark side, like seaweed, slowly moved in all directions. Looking at this scene, Qing Jianxin was furious. His hand that was holding the curtains was trembling. After a very long time, it was already evening. The crowd had completely dispersed. The area around the Dragon Palace was a mess. The ground looked as if it had not been swept for years and was replaced by trash. In the square in front of the Dragon Palace, a man was lying down. From afar, Qing Jianxin could not see who it was. He only saw that the man's clothes were torn to shreds. He lay there motionless, and the 4 Special Forces soldiers who were in charge of escorting him were long gone. Although he could not see the man clearly, Qing Jianxin was very sure that he was Qing Junhua. He was really trampled to death. Gu Yanhao's words rang in his ears again. They will trample you to death step by step. Qing Jianxin's heart shook violently. Gu Yanhao was ruthless. Even in death, he did not forget to let them trample his nephew to death. That was a modified Hummer. How could it be destroyed so easily? Qing Jianxin grumbled. Sir, the power of the crowd is very scary, the assistant said. His most beloved and valued nephew died so tragically under the feet of a group of unruly people. Qing Jianxin's heart was very uncomfortable. He closed his eyes, pulled down the curtains, and said to the assistant, send him back to the Qing mansion. When the Qing mansion saw Qing Junhua being trampled to death, whether it was Qing Jianping, Qing Junhua, Qing Junshan, or the servants, they were all shocked. The honorable young Master Qing died just like that. The servants could not believe it. Even Qing Jianping and his sons could not believe it. especially Qing Jianpain, who had lost his beloved son. He burst into tears and wailed in grief. Qing Junhua was trampled to death by the crowd. This responsibility was not pursued by the police and the military. When the international community found out about it, they all said that Qing Junhua's death was not without reason. No one sympathized with him. He dared to kidnap his own brother, threaten his stepmother, lure Song Wuyo onto the yacht, and then detonate the yacht. A person who wouldn't even let his stepmother and biological brother off was worse than a beast. Moreover, in order to kill Gu Yanhao, he did not hesitate to sacrifice dozens of lives on the plane. The news of Qing Junhua being trampled to death spread all over the world. His death brought great joy to the entire K nation. Song Wuyo didn't go to the scene where the Dragon Palace was blocked. However, when she saw such a huge scene on TV, she was still shocked. This was even more frightening than the last time. After they dispersed, Qing Junhua's body lay alone in the huge square. Very sad, very pitiful. Song Wuyo sat in the pavilion of the manor. Did Qing Junhua, that demon, die just like that? Those videos and recordings were all planned by Gu Yanhao, right? Things seemed to be as she had thought. Gu Yanhao was in the dark, while Qing Jianqin was in the light. The unscrupulous uncle and nephew could not beat Gu Yanhao. If Qing Junhua knew that Gu Yanhao was not dead, would he jump up in anger? Maybe in hell, he would feel like he was slapped in the face. The wind is strong, let's go back. Magoo came to the pavilion and stood behind Song Wuyo. Chapter 670. Okay. Song Wuyo stood up and smiled gently at Magoo. Magoo raised his eyebrows slightly. For the past 2 days, he could not see any sadness from Gu Yanhao's death from the plane crash on her face. Did she really believe that Ah Ho was not dead, or was she suppressing her emotions? On the way back to the villa, Song Wuyo asked Magoo, "Has the situation at the company been stabilized?" Magoo shook his head arrogantly. "Who am I? How can a mere Gu clan be a problem for me?" "Yes, it's been stabilized. I've received one order after another. The customers who breached the contract even took the initiative to apologize to me. However, I ignored them. A mere Gu clan. If Ah Ho heard you, he would definitely slap you. If he comes back and sees that I've managed the Gu clan so well, he would definitely be grateful. He might even want to hug my thigh." "What about in May? Has the situation calmed down?" "How could it have calmed down? The two companies have always been rivals. And Chonggong will definitely take advantage of Ah Ho's absence to suppress the Gu clan." Song Wuyo looked at him. "Who's more powerful? You or in Chonggong?" Magoo laughed arrogantly. "Of course it's me. I've fought back against him. It's not that easy to suppress the Gu clan. Did those businessmen really think that Gu Yanhao was a pushover? I think it's because most people are on Ah Ho's side. That's why In Chonggong is powerless." She did not expect that this seemingly decent man would be so ambitious. "No, he's powerless against me. That's enough. If you continue to brag, you'll be blown to the sky." Magoo tilted his head and looked at Song Wuyo with a smile. "You're in a good mood." Song Wuyo smiled and said, "Of course. Qing Junhua's death can be considered as an explanation for the victims. Yeah, for someone like him, dying 100 times wouldn't be enough." "Magoo." Song Wuyo suddenly stopped. Magoo stopped and looked at her curiously with a smile in his eyes. "What's wrong?" Song Wuyo looked around and said softly, "There's no one here." "Where's Ah Ho? Can you tell me?" Magoo was slightly taken aback. He looked at Song Wuyo with a faint smile. Are you sure that I know where he is? Song Wuyo said, my intuition tells me that you know where he is. Magoo, Wuyo, I don't know where he is. Magoo said this with a serious face. Song Wuyo didn't ask any more questions. She smiled and walked forward. Back at the villa, Song Wuyo smelled durian the moment she entered the living room. Song Wuyo liked this smell very much. It was very fragrant. When she smelled this smell, her eyes lit up. There's durian to eat. Ban Jianing sat on the carpet in front of the coffee table and ate with relish. Mu Axayan sat on the sofa and covered her mouth with a look of disdain. When he heard Song Wuyo's words, Ban Jianing smiled happily. Sister, come and eat. Song Wuyo came over and sat on the carpet with Ban Jianing. Just when she was about to eat the durian, Magoo came over and said to her, don't sit on the floor. It's cold. Even if there's a carpet, it won't do. Song Wuyo smiled. Okay. She picked up the small plate and sat on the sofa to eat the durian. Wuyo, is it good? Mu Axian frowned. Song Wuyo nodded. It's good. I think it smells bad. You don't even know how to eat. Ban Jianing looked at Mu Axian. You'll like it after you eat a bite. Mu Axian stared at him unkindly. Do you think it's heroin? I'll like it after I eat a bite. Heroin is addictive after one bite. Ban Jianing came over. Chapter 671. White powder is addictive. Ban Jianing came over and smiled at Mu Axian. He was sitting on the floor, and Mu Axian was sitting on the sofa. When he leaned over, he looked up and smiled at her, just like a little man worshipping her. Mu Axian blushed, and she tightened her legs. She was wearing a skirt. Mu Axian, I am willing to be your heroine. You can eat me, okay? Ban Jianing laughed. After saying that, he blinked. His eyes were as black as obsidian. I don't take drugs, and I don't need heroin. Mu Axian wanted to kick this guy away. Ban Jianing pouted. You still don't like me. He sat down beside Song Wuyo and looked at Mu Axian unhappily. Even if you like me in the future, I will also not like you. Mu Axian was speechless. She would not like him. Silly. Magoo was free during the weekend. It was the Gu clan's rest day, and he returned to the ranch. Cheng Wanduo appeared at the bungalow where he was staying. He saw a woman sitting in his house like the mistress of the house. Magoo was unhappy. His face was as cold as ice. When did you arrive? Magoo threw his car keys on the coffee table and looked at Cheng Wanduo, who was sitting on the sofa. 30 minutes ago. Cheng Wanduo smiled at Magoo. I know you are back, and I came here to accompany you. Cheng Wanduo threw a portable USB drive to Magoo, and Magoo took it. All the information you want is inside. Cheng Jianxin's crimes, corruption, and what kind of people he killed are all in there. With this evidence, you can drag him down. Magoo played with the USB drive in his hand and looked at Cheng Wanduo. He is your godfather, and you betrayed him. Cheng Wanduo, I don't like you at all. Aren't you afraid that you will regret betraying your godfather? Cheng Wanduo smiled enchantingly, but there was no warmth in his eyes. Even if I kill him, I won't regret it. I never do things that I regret. It's really scary to raise a woman like you. Cheng Wanduo stroked her curly hair and looked at Magoo with a faint smile. You're wrong. I'm actually not scary at all. Magoo's expression was cold. You can kill whoever you want, isn't that scary? Cheng Wanduo, are you referring to Song Wuyo? It seems like you care about her a lot. Magoo, I've always cared about kind women. Cheng Wanduo said, there are many kind women in this world. You don't care about all of them. Magoo, unless it's not within the scope of my knowledge. Cheng Wanduo, I'm really interested in you. So, she could try to change for a man. She had never changed for anyone before. She didn't know if changing for a person was something worth remembering. Magoo said, I've said it before. I don't like you at all. Cheng Wanduo smiled confidently. It's okay. The more you don't like me, the more interested I am. By the way, I've conveyed your words to Qing Jianqin. Sure enough, he knows that Song Wuyo is Ban Dechang's daughter and wants her dead. Then do as I said. Cheng Wanduo smiled enchantingly. He was very charming. If I do well, how will you repay me? Magoo looked indifferent. If you don't do well, you have no right to ask me for repayment. Don't worry, with my help, all of your plans will succeed. Cheng Wanduo got up and walked up to Magoo step by step. He smiled charmingly and said, if it succeeds, will you repay me with your body? Chapter 672. Magoo looked at her coldly. Under his gaze, Cheng Wanduo's smile became even more enchanting. Her whole body was exuding a seductive aura. She raised her hands and placed them on Magoo's shoulders. Her head was slightly tilted, and her eyes with thick eyeshadow looked seductive and coquettish. Her hands, which were painted with nail polish, were slender and soft as if they were boneless. She pinched the muscles on Magoo's shoulders from time to time. Magoo's eyes were deep and sharp. His expression was dark as he looked at her coldly. Qing Junhua was trampled to death. Do you think I didn't contribute? Cheng Wanduo smiled coquettishly, her eyebrows curled up in a flirtatious manner. You're so vicious. Qing Junhua treated you well, right? Magoo looked at Cheng Wanduo coldly. But I'm only interested in you. Cheng Wanduo raised her hand and gently stroked Magoo's handsome face with her soft and boneless hand. Magoo raised his eyebrows and looked at her coldly, but he did not push her away. Cheng Wanduo looked at him with a charming smile. Do you know why I'm only interested in you? Because you're very charming. Cheng Wanduo sniffed Magoo's body. There was a faint sandalwood scent on his body with a hint of his unique scent. It smelled good, and Cheng Wanduo liked it very much. You've been with a flock of sheep and horses all day, and yet you smell so good. You're really charming. Cheng Wanduo laughed. Cheng Wanduo's hand slowly moved down his face. Her hand went past his Adam's apple. What a sexy Adam's apple. Cheng Wanduo smiled and wanted to bite it. Her hand went down his Adam's apple to his chest. She smiled even more coquettishly and seductively. Everyone says that you don't like women, but I know that you only like Song Wuyo. She fiddled with the buttons of his shirt with her fingers. When Magoo heard this, his eyes darkened. He looked sharply at Cheng Wanduo. Don't talk nonsense. Li Xinxin liked Gu Yanhao and wanted to get Gu Yanhao. She wanted to hurt Song Wuyo. If this woman knew his feelings for Song Wuyo, with her personality, she would also do something to hurt Song Wuyo. Cheng Wanduo smiled charmingly, her eyes sparkling. You don't dare to admit it. Magoo, you're not fun at all. Her hand poked Magoo's sturdy chest repeatedly. Magoo raised his eyebrows and looked at her unhappily. Take your hand back. Cheng Wanduo smiled. Don't reject me. I know you like Song Wuyo. But I'm also confident that one day, you'll fall in love with me. Magoo chuckled disdainfully. Aren't you a little too confident? Cheng Wanduo moved her slender waist and puffed out her chest. She moved her mouth closer and said softly, it's not confidence. It's my charm. Very few men can resist it. Magoo, I know you're not a eunuch. The woman's breath was like orchids, and the fragrance on her body was like poppies. Magoo's eyes darkened as he pushed Ching Wanduo away. Ah! Ching Wanduo only took a few steps back before pouncing on Magoo. Her hands hooked onto Magoo's neck tightly while her legs wrapped around his waist. Under such circumstances, it was very difficult to be shaken off. Magoo tried his best to push her body away and shouted angrily, "Ching Wanduo, let go." Ching Wanduo laughed twice. She was very happy because she got what she wanted. "Push me away if you can. If you can't, then just be with me. I've never been with you." Liar. You like Song Wuyo, but you say you don't like her in front of me. You like her but can't get her. Isn't that the same as being with her? Chapter 673. You damned woman. Even if I'm a eunuch for the rest of my life, I still won't like you. Why? Because I once hurt Song Wuyo? Or because I'm Ching Jianqin's adopted daughter? None of those. If you don't like me, then don't like me. There's no reason. Just because you don't like me now doesn't mean you won't like me in the future. Magoo, I'll give you all the important information in the Dragon Palace. How about that? Magoo's pushing Ching Wanduo paused. Ching Wanduo saw that this method was effective. She smiled and blinked. Her eyelashes fluttered like ink fans. How about it? Am I still useful? Ching Wanduo looked at Magoo with interest. Magoo looked at her and snorted, "Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you after you're done using me?" Ching Wanduo was not afraid of death. "I'm very lucky to die in your hands." But Ching Wanduo lowered her head and kissed Magoo's face. She said boldly, "Rather than dying in your hands, I'd rather die under you. I hope you can bite me like a wild beast from the forest and let me die of pleasure." Ching Wanduo thought that Magoo would ridicule her as a flirtatious woman after hearing this. Unexpectedly, Magoo laughed, "You wish. You don't have the qualifications to die under me. If you don't die of pleasure, that's because you're not strong enough." Ching Wanduo became more and more interested in Magoo. She tightly hooked her arms around his neck and wrapped her legs around his waist. "Magoo, do you want to give it a try? Let's see if you're strong or not." Shameless. Magoo stared sharply at Ching Wanduo. "Let go of your hands and legs." "I'm not letting go." Ching Wanduo grinned at Magoo. "Am I clamping it too tightly?" "Actually, I have a tighter part. Do you want me to tighten it?" Although Magoo was a virgin, he could still understand Ching Wanduo's dirty jokes. His eyes were filled with anger as he glared at Ching Wanduo. "Let me go. I won't release it on my own accord. You're courting death." Magoo raised his arm and struck at the back of Ching Wanduo's neck. "Magoo, you." Ching Wanduo felt his body go numb, followed by a sharp pain. Then, everything went black and he fainted. Since she was already dizzy, the four limbs that were wrapped around Magoo naturally loosened. She fell from Magoo's body, and Magoo did not reach out to support her. She fell just like that, her head hit the sofa, and then she slowly fell to the ground. Magoo looked at her coldly, turned around, and went upstairs. Back in his bedroom, he opened the door to the cloakroom. His cloakroom was quite spacious, and he stood in front of the mirror erected on the wall for a while. The motionless mirror moved. The mirror, which was smaller than the door, slowly rose. Behind the mirror, there was an entrance. Although it was not as big as the door of his bedroom, it was enough for Magoo to enter. This was a face-painting mirror. If someone stood in front of it, they could only use it as a mirror. Magoo stood in front of it because he had something to do. Magoo bent down and walked in. After he entered, the mirror that rose slowly came down. Blocking the light from the outside, Magoo stood in the passageway and turned on the lights with a click. In front of him was a passageway that looked like an elevator that went straight down. He followed the stairs and walked down step by step. After walking down this passageway, the scene in front of him was like a glimmer of hope. It was no longer dark in front of him. It was a big space. Chapter 674. The light in this space was excellent, and it was not humid because it was underground. The furnishings in front of him were like a huge living room. A tall and slender man was lying lazily on the soft leather couch. The man was wearing a nightgown, revealing his strong chest. He supported his head with one hand and chewed an apple with the other. His posture was enchanting, and his expression of eating an apple was incomparably comfortable. His long and narrow eyes were filled with a smug cold smile. Hearing footsteps approaching, he just raised his eyes and glanced in the direction of the footsteps. Qing Junhua is dead. What do we do next? Magoo came to the coffee table, grabbed the melon seeds on the coffee table with one hand, and sat down beside the man. Of course, it's to publicize the evidence of Qing Jianxin's crimes over the years. The man said coldly. If Wuyo knows that you're hiding here, she'll definitely scold me to death. Magoo gnawed on the melon seeds. He didn't like the taste of the melon seeds very much, and as he chewed, his face showed disgust. Hearing Song Wuyo's name, the man's eyes softened. Scolding you is not scolding me. Ah ho, you don't know how sad Wuyo is. What about now? Are you still sad now? Gu Yanhao looked at Magoo. Now she's eating and sleeping well, and her complexion is better, but I think she's holding back and forcing herself to pretend to be happy. You're wrong. Gu Yanhao curled his lips. After the evidence of Qing Jianxin's crimes is exposed one by one, Wuyo will know that I'm not dead. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao. Are you so sure? Yes. Gu Yanhao nodded. I know her. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao. This time, Qing Jianxin was tripped up. Do you really want to be the president yourself? Gu Yanhao ate the apple comfortably and glanced at Magoo. Why don't you be the president? That's enough. Ever since my elders were killed, I've been wanting to live a leisurely life. The president is such a high-ranking official. It's better for me to stay far away from him. Gu Yanhao curled his lips and smiled faintly. Magoo looked deeply into his eyes. But if you do, the entire nation will be happy. You should have seen the situation on the internet and the scene of Qing Junhua being trampled to death, right? Well, this is his retribution. They didn't provoke him, but he had to provoke them and kill them. So now, the hearts of the entire country are on your side. No, it's for Wuyo. So, they will be very happy that you are the president. When you become the president and kill Qing Jianxin, no one will want to kill Wuyo. When you become the president, she will be safe. Look. Gu Yanhao picked up the remote control and pressed a button. The wall in front of them lit up. It was a high-tech screen. After the screen lit up, a series of palace-like buildings appeared. Magoo looked at the screen and was surprised. Don't tell me you are thinking of. Gu Yanhao smiled. That's right. You guessed it right. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao in shock. You want to build a luxurious palace for Wuyo. Gu Yanhao had a complicated look. This is not considered a luxurious palace. Ah ho, how many women are you going to raise when you build this palace? In ancient times, it was raising concubines. In modern times, it was raising mistresses. Gu Yanhao looked at Magoo coldly. Who says I want to raise women? Other than the maid serving Wuyo, I will only raise one woman, Wuyo. Of course, I will still raise our daughter when she grows up. I will also raise her. You better be able to do it. Migu's face sank. He thought for a while and said. Dongfang Xian had said that after building a luxurious palace, he will make her the empress. What happened in the end? Chapter 675. The moment Gu Yanhao heard that, his gaze turned complicated. He glanced at Migu, lowered his eyes, and said in a deep voice, "In this life, I will not let her down again." Migu looked at him sharply. "If you let her down again, I will not let you off either." Gu Yanhao looked at Migu deeply. "Migu, thank you for helping us all this time. It was like that in the previous life, and it was the same in this life." Migu replied, "I only do what I think I should do. But you cannot ruin the Mu family's bloodline just because of the love in your heart." Migu raised his brow and looked at Gu Yanhao coldly. "What do you mean? Qing Wanduo gave you the USB drive, didn't he? Don't tell me you want me to like Qing Wanduo. For a bad woman to turn over a new leaf for a man, it proves that she truly loves you." Ah ho! She once hurt Wuyo and even wanted to kill Wuyo. He did not want a woman like that. Gu Yanhao lamented, "It's good that Wuyo and I are fine in the end." Pausing for a moment, he continued, "Right now, I just want to get rid of Qing Jianxin. As for the others, as long as they turn over a new leaf and don't hurt us anymore, we won't hurt them either. But if they come to hurt us again, I've decided that I won't let them off." Gu Yanhao looked at Migu. "It doesn't matter if you like Qing Wanduo or other women. But I really don't want you to stay single because of Wuyo." Migu curled his lips into a smile. "You're afraid that I'll snatch Wuyo away?" Gu Yanhao was dismissive. "That depends on whether Wuyo likes you or not." Migu pursed his lips. "No, she only has you in her heart. Why would she like me?" Migu's eyes were filled with complicated emotions as he looked at the pictures of the buildings on the wall. "Where do you plan to build this palace?" he asked. "I don't know yet." Gu Yanhao smiled. Migu snorted. "You make it sound nice. You're building a luxurious palace for Wuyo. In fact, you're not seizing power. You're the king. You're the one who uses it the most. Let's talk about the next step of our plan." Gu Yanhao sat up. "Hurry up and finish the plan. I want to go back and reunite with my wife. Qing Jianxin knows that Wuyo is Ban Dechang's daughter. He ordered Qing Wanduo to take Song Wuyo's life. Don't let Qing Wanduo do it. Let Qing Jianxin do it." Migu raised his eyebrows. "You have a better plan." When Qing Wanduo woke up, Migu had already returned to the living room. He crossed his long legs and sat on the sofa lazily, drinking tea elegantly. When Qing Wanduo saw that she was lying on the ground after being knocked out, she was a little angry. She glared at Migu. "Bastard, you're just going to let me lie here like this?" Migu raised his eyebrows and looked at her indifferently. "Otherwise, where do you want to lie?" Qing Wanduo glanced at the seat beside him and said angrily, "If I can't lie on your bed, I can lie on your sofa. Sorry, I'm a clean freak." Her. Qing Wanduo got up and sat on the sofa. She rubbed her aching neck and looked at Migu seductively. "I like men like you." Migu looked at her with disdain. Qing Wanduo flipped her hair and looked at Migu with a smile. "A clean freak is a clean freak. Not only will you not kiss a woman easily, but you will also not sleep with a woman. I dare to bet that you are still a virgin." When Migu heard this, his ears turned red. Of course, he did not know that his ears were red. Chapter 676. You're simply a lowlife. Magoo said coldly. As long as I can make you see me in a different light, I don't care what kind of pervert I am. You can leave now. I plan to spend the night here. My neck hurts. As he spoke, Chingwanduo used his hand to rub his proud chest. My heart hurts too. Enough. Magoo glanced at her chest and his ears turned redder. You have to go back even if your whole body is in pain. Aren't you afraid that I won't help you get the important internal information of the Dragon Palace? Chingwanduo looked at Magoo coldly. The information is stored on the computer, right? I can get a hacker to do it. Ha! You are so naive. If a hacker can easily hack into a country's system, the country will be finished. Do you think Qing Jianqin is a fool? Why would Qing Jianqin put the information on the computer so easily? You mean, I am the only one who can get the complete information. I am the only one in the entire Dragon Palace. Perhaps everyone in the Dragon Palace belongs to Master Gu now. But they don't have the ability to know where the information is. Don't you want to defeat Qing Jianqin as soon as possible? Don't you want to get the information as soon as possible? I will perform well and give you the information as soon as possible. Then you have to go back immediately. Magoo did not leave any affection for Chingwanduo. TSK. Chingwanduo admired him. You are getting cooler and cooler. I am really fascinated by your charm. Magoo wanted her to shut up. I can help Qing Junhua become the president. If he becomes the president, I can be the first lady. But I didn't do that. I know what I want. Magoo, I want you. Chingwanduo gave Magoo a flirtatious look. I want you. Go back to M City and do something for me, Magoo said indifferently. Sure enough, just as she said, Chingwanduo was captivated by his charm. When she heard what Magoo said, she immediately put away her shameless flirtatious look and looked at him seriously. You want to kill Song Wuyo? Magoo looked at her deeply. Yes. Tell me the plan, and I'll do as you say. You bring Wuyo to the Dragon Palace and let Qing Jianqin do it himself. The last 10,000 words were omitted. This year's winter was particularly cold. Especially in the north, where the wind was bone-chilling and snow was falling. In the countryside, the houses of some of the poorer families were even crushed by the snow. But the local government didn't care. There were still many childless and childless old people who lived in the 5 guarantees. Not only did they not have a warm environment to live in, but they also did not have many quilts and cotton-padded jackets. Many village chiefs reported the problem to their superiors, but nothing came of it. Those young people went out to work. When their lives were better, they brought their parents to live in the city. Many of those who stayed in the village were in financial difficulties. This area was not far away from M City. The president was in this city, but their lives were still so difficult. Now that Qing Junhua was dead, Qing Jianqin felt that he couldn't even protect himself, so he wouldn't sympathize with the people. Since this year's winter, there were many news reports about lonely old people who froze to death in the middle of the night. But there were no officials who took the initiative to send them warmth. When Song Wuyo knew about this, she came to check on the situation personally. Chapter 677. Song Wuyo was really a woman who cared about the people. Maybe it was because of concubine Song's thoughts. On the other hand, she had her own selfish motives. Judging from the current situation, Qing Jianqin would be dethroned sooner or later. Although Gu Yanhao was not by her side, she knew that Gu Yanhao was behind all this. Just like in her previous life, as long as he wanted to be the king, she would try her best to help him. In her previous life, when she knew that Dongfang Xian wanted to be the emperor, she tried her best to win every battle. Now, when she knew that Gu Yanhao wanted to be the president, she helped him win the hearts of the people. There were so many lonely old people in the countryside who had no children and were living in a bad environment. Song Wuyo was really heartbroken. She provided money to let the villagers have a warm winter. Then she funded the expansion of the Old People's Center in M City. She planned to let the childless old people live in the Old People's Center for free. She paid for the construction of the collapsed houses. Song Wuyo's move was immediately spread. Everyone in K country was convinced by her. After making arrangements in the countryside, she went to the orphanage with Su Jing. Su Jing and Lu Jiming were both orphans, but they were doing well. Su Jing had her own job in the Song enterprise now. So did Lu Jiming. Song Wuyo encouraged the children in the orphanage to grow up happily and study hard. As long as they were smart and learned something, they could apply for jobs in the Song enterprise or the Gu clan. Su Jing and Lu Jiming's role models were there. The children in the orphanage were suddenly full of struggle. In order to let the children grow up like children who were loved by their parents, Song Wuyo donated 3 million yuan to the orphanage every month in the name of the Gu clan group. Of course, the money was also transferred from the Gu clan. When this news reached Gu Yanhao's ears through Migu's mouth, Gu Yanhao only smiled dotingly and said, "This little woman started spending my money when I wasn't around." Gu Yanhao looked at Migu. 3 million a month. How much do I have to donate in a year? Migu faintly said, 36 million. She can't even bear to spend 1 million a year, Gu Yanhao said. She has the world in her heart, so Imperial Concubine Song is a legend in the eyes of the world today, a heroine, Migu said. Gu Yanhao nodded. A woman like her is hard to come by. Part of the reason she did this was for you. I know. Gu Yanhao was not a fool. We'll be preparing the plan the day after tomorrow. Shouldn't we release the news that you're not dead? Otherwise, if you suddenly appear, others will think you're a ghost. Go and make the arrangements. Migu's eyes lit up. Okay, I'll make the arrangements now. I think I'm witnessing a big battle. Gu Yanhao was not dead. He was saved by the international rescue team. As for where he was saved, this was not the main point of people's concern. The main point was that Gu Yanhao was not dead. The entire K nation was very happy. As for why it took so long to release the news that Gu Yanhao was not dead, the answer given by the international authorities was Gu Yanhao's face was injured and he did not have any identification documents on him, so they could not confirm his real identity. After being unconscious for a long time, he woke up and revealed his identity. Then, he was hospitalized for treatment. His injuries improved and they prepared to send him back to M City. This news caused a sensation in the K nation. When Song Wuyo heard this news, she smiled. She knew that this was all planned by Gu Yanhao. She knew that he would come back. She knew that he would not leave her so easily. Chapter 678. Announce the news that Gu Yanhao was not dead. Then, they could talk on the phone openly. How are your injuries? Song Wuyo was very excited as she held the phone. Of course, she knew that he would not be injured, but she had to ask in order to keep it a secret. Much better. The other party's deep voice came through. At this moment, Song Wuyo wanted to cry. I haven't heard his voice in a long time. Rest well. I'll wait for you to come back. Song Wuyo said in a choked voice. Only Gu Yanhao understood what she meant. Don't worry and do what you want to do. I'll protect myself. Is our baby obedient? Yes, very obedient. Did you vomit? A little. I vomited more in the morning and at night. Don't you like the pickled cabbage and pork noodles at Yunshin Noodle Restaurant on Zhongshan Road? If you really can't eat after vomiting and want to eat something sour, go there and eat a bowl of pickled cabbage noodles. Don't starve our baby. When Song Wuyo heard this, she smiled sweetly. Yes, don't worry. I will take good care of our baby. Song Wuyo hung up the phone reluctantly. Her eyes were red. Su Jing and Ban Jianing, who were listening next to her, were very excited because of this phone call. Sister, will brother-in-law be back soon? Ban Jianing came up and hugged Song Wuyo's hand. His eyes were full of anticipation. Song Wuyo smiled. Yes, he'll be back when his injuries get better. When will young Master Gu's injuries get better? Su Jing asked. That depends on the doctor's judgment. Song Wuyo smiled. When he mentioned the pickled cabbage and pork noodles at Yunxi Noodle Restaurant, I drooled. Miss, are you going there to eat noodles? Anyway, I didn't eat much for lunch. I want to go out and have a bowl of noodles. Song Wuyo smiled at Su Jing. Come with me. Su Jing nodded. Okay. Dragon Palace, President's Office. Qing Jianxin was furious. His nephew was dead, but Gu Yanhao was still alive. Thinking about it, Qing Jianxin suspected that Gu Yanhao was not even on that plane. Gu Yanhao, oh Gu Yanhao, you're so scheming. Godfather. Qing Wanduo came in. Did you take Song Wuyo's life? Qing Jianxin stared at Qing Wanduo with bloodthirsty eyes. She was eating noodles in the noodle house. There were too many people there, so I didn't dare to make a move. I knocked her out when she left the noodle house and brought her to the Dragon Palace. Godfather, don't worry, no one found her in the Dragon Palace. After saying that, Qing Wanduo smiled proudly. Isn't Gu Yanhao still alive? It's best to use her to threaten him. Threaten him with what? Threaten him not to kill me. Or threaten him not to compete with me for the president's position. Qing Jianxin said angrily, there's no need to threaten him. Gu Yanhao killed Junhua, so I'm going to kill his woman now. Where's that woman now? Junhua's office. When Qing Jianxin heard that, he waved his sleeves and strode out of the office. In less than a minute, he arrived at Qing Junhua's office. The office was the same as his. It was independent and the area was the same. When Qing Jianxin came in, he saw Song Wuyo and Su Jing lying on the sofa. In front of the sofa, there were 2 sacks. It was obvious that Qing Wanduo had knocked them out and carried them back. When Qing Jianxin saw Song Wuyo, a sinister smile appeared on his face. He stood in front of her and looked at her condescendingly. He sneered, so you're Ban Dechang's daughter. Not bad, you're like Ban Dekang. You have the ability to lead. Chapter 679. But so what? Won't she still die in his hands? Song Wuyo faintly woke up. Her long eyelashes gently trembled a few times before she slowly opened her eyes. What entered her eyes was a ferocious face. She was startled and immediately woke up. She opened her eyes wide and looked at Qing Jianxin. President Qing. How ironic of you to call him President Qing. Qing Jianxin bent down and grabbed Song Wuyo's neck. He looked at her ruthlessly and coldly said, do you know why I caught you? To kill me. Song Wuyo calmly looked at him. Her throat was choked by him and she couldn't breathe properly. She indifferently said, you want to talk to me again and want to choke me. What do you mean by this? I've already been caught by you. Killing me is only a matter of time. Can you not choke me like this before you finish talking to me? Her hands and feet were already tied by Qing Wanduo with a rope. Not to mention struggling, it was not easy for her to stand up from the soft sofa. You have character. Qing Jianxin let go of Song Wuyo and looked at her with a sneer. Unfortunately, you are Ban Dechang's daughter. Otherwise, I will let you live for the sake of your character. Song Wuyo coldly looked at him. I am Ban Dechang's daughter. Do you have to kill me? You have already killed his entire family. Even the servants and bodyguards who work in the Ban residence are not spared. Now, even his only daughter is not spared. You should be the most ruthless and heartless president. As long as I keep my position as president, I don't care who I kill. I won't be lenient just because you are pregnant. Aren't you afraid that the whole country will protest if you do this? These words poked at Qing Jianxin's sore spot. Qing Jianxin was not afraid of killing her. He was afraid that after killing her, the people would come to the Dragon Palace to protest. However, compared to protesting and killing her, of course, killing her was more important. Qing Jianxin suddenly raised his head and laughed. His laughter was very terrifying. His laughter could make people feel cold to the bone. Song Wuyo coldly and disdainfully looked at him. Devil! The entire nation is protesting. Qing Jianxin suddenly stopped laughing and glared at Song Wuyo. Do you think that I, the president, am a good-for-nothing? They can protest as much as they want. No matter how many of them come, I will crush them all. When Song Wuyo heard this, she was a little worried. After the previous two protests, she was sure that if the people knew that she was dead, they would definitely protest. She didn't know if it was because of Qing Junhua's death, but she had a premonition that if the people really protested, Qing Jianxin would really do as he said and run them over. Qing Jianxin, you don't deserve to be the president. Song Wuyo looked at Qing Jianxin coldly. The president loves his people. Look at what you've done to them. Don't tell me if I'm worthy or not. Qing Jianxin angrily waved his sleeves and shouted hysterically, in their hearts, only Ban Dekang is a good president. No matter how much I do for them, they won't see it. It's better to do nothing. You didn't even do it, so how do you know that they can't see it? If you don't do it, they will never see it. Qing Jianxin angrily slapped Song Wuyo's left cheek. He stared at Song Wuyo with malicious eyes. You're just a cheap woman. You don't have the qualifications to tell me how to be a good president. Qing Wanduo frowned and silently looked at Song Wuyo's swollen left cheek. Chapter 680. Qing Wanduo furrowed his eyebrows and looked at Song Wuyo's swollen left cheek silently. His gaze turned deep. Bloody hell, so painful. Song Wuyo pursed her lips tightly as she endured the burning pain coming from her cheek. It was as though someone had slashed her and applied chilly water on her wound. It was really uncomfortable. That slap was really heavy. After the slap, she felt dizzy. Luckily, no matter how painful it was, she could endure it. She looked at Qing Jianxin stubbornly and coldly. You're simply a devil. That's right. Qing Jianxin raised the hand that he used to slap Song Wuyo and looked at his palm that was a little red from overexertion. He twisted his neck and grinned. That look was just like the zombies in the movies. It was really chilling. He looked at Song Wuyo with a sneer. I'm a devil. That's why I only know how to do what devils do. I even killed Ban Dekang. After I killed him, the First Lady came in. When she saw that her husband was dead, she wanted to shout for help. But I didn't give her a chance. Qing Jianxin bent down and put his face close to Song Wuyo. That sneer had a hint of the devil's taste. His gaze was really scary. Looking at his ugly face, Song Wuyo really wanted to give him a slap. Do you want to know how I killed the so-called daughter of the mayor? Qing Jianxin felt a sense of accomplishment when he thought about what happened back then. You're a beast. Song Wuyo scolded. From her woman's point of view, she knew how miserable the First Lady's ending was. Yes, now that I think about it, I was really as fierce as a beast back then. I used a dry towel to stuff her mouth and tied her limbs with ropes before putting her on that spacious bed. I took off all her clothes. Oh, I forgot to tell you. At that time, Ban Dekhang was still breathing. But he couldn't move or scream. He could only watch as his beloved wife lay on the bed and let me do whatever I wanted. Song Wuyo looked at Qing Jinshin with hatred. Devil! Devil! Although she didn't know the First Lady, she was Ban Jianning's biological mother. On the yacht, she had heard Mrs. Eyre talk about their past. She admired the First Lady's breadth of mind and grace. However, she did not expect Qing Jinshin to rape her before she died. Qing Jinshin revealed a complacent smile. It was the smile of a wolf, very terrifying. He leaned closer to Song Wuyo and said word by word, "Do you want to know how I raped her back then? You're so bad, you'll definitely receive retribution." Song Wuyo coldly looked at Qing Jinshin. "Even if you die, your soul will scatter." Qing Jinshin stood up with a proud expression as if he was talking about his glorious past. Though she gave birth to a son, her figure and skin were as beautiful as an angel, mesmerizing me. "You don't know, I work for Ban Dekhang, so it's inevitable that I don't interact with her. She's very classy, elegant, and refined. Her every frown and smile could make my breath stop and my heart skip a beat. I wanted to express my goodwill to her, but the way she looked at me was very indifferent. If I express my goodwill to her and she doesn't accept it, then she will complain to Ban Dekhang about me. Can I still be the vice president? Finally, there's a chance for me to get her completely. The more she struggles, the more I love her. Don't say any more." Song Wuyo trembled in fear. Chapter 681. Demon. Qing Jinshin was a demon. Song Wuyo felt sorry for the First Lady just by imagining that scene. She was raped by Qing Jinshin in her own house and even lost her life. How pitiful. Ha! Ha! Qing Jinshin, who had his back facing Song Wuyo, heard Song Wuyo's sudden shout. He was in a good mood and laughed out loud. He suddenly turned around, and his eyes were like a wolf's. "You can't listen anymore. It's still very exciting. If I stop halfway, it will be too disappointing. You don't know how feminine she is. I have always wanted to sleep with a woman like her. This is a rare opportunity, and I will not let it go. I want to enjoy it. Do you know how wide I spread her legs? A split, her split was very seductive. Do you want to know how desperate she was at that time? Her tears were falling, and my heart was trembling. I had no choice but to be gentle." Song Wuyo was about to cry. Her face was pale, and she looked at Qing Jinshin with hatred. If looks could kill, Qing Jinshin would have died a long time ago. But, when I faced Ban Dekhang's eyes that were filled with hatred and wanted to kill me, I felt very uncomfortable. Whenever I felt uncomfortable, I could only vent my emotions on his woman. When I thought about how she was used by Ban Dekhang and even gave birth to his child, I felt very bad. Her mouth was stuffed with a towel, and she could not scream. Her painful expression was too satisfying. In the end, I could not take it anymore and raped her in front of Ban Dekhang. Ban Dekhang used his last breath to scold me. "Beast!" "That's right, I am a beast." I tied his woman up in his house and did it again and again until she died. Song Wuyo's entire body trembled. Demon! Demon! At this moment, Qing Wanduo, who was ignored by them, was sweating profusely. The two hands hanging by his sides clenched tightly into two fists. She lowered her head. Her eyes under her long eyelashes were filled with murderous intent. It was frighteningly cold. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ching Jianxin raised his head and laughed heartily, extremely pleased with himself. I'm a man, but I can make a woman die of pleasure. I feel so accomplished. Ching Jianxin suddenly bent down and pinched Song Wuyo's chin. He looked at her fiercely. I suddenly changed my mind. Song Wuyo looked at his devilish expression and felt a chill run down her spine. She stared straight at him. What thoughts? Back then, I was young and strong. I was able to make her feel good. Now, I want to make you feel good too. Bah. When Song Wuyo heard this, she was so disgusted that she spat on Ching Jianxin's face and said angrily, Why don't a scum like you just die? Does the king of hell dare to accept me? I'm stronger than him. Would he dare to accept me? My father treated you well and promoted you to the position of vice president. But you killed him and his wife. In the end, you even bombed his house. You didn't even spare their 5-year-old son. You drove him crazy and sent him to a mental hospital. After torturing him for a few years, you wanted to kill him. Ching Jianxin, you should be trampled to death by the entire nation. Tisk, tsk, tisk. Ching Jianxin shook his head and looked at Song Wuyo with admiration. Your tone is exactly the same as Gu Yanhao. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.